Thank you. So what I want to talk to you about today is not about the technology. It's about how you use the technology. One of my, I think, key messages is, I think we all know what Omni-Channel is. I heard some of the previous presentations, and I think it's very clear that I think everybody in the region has understood that. I know all the key players are moving in that direction. I think people understand what it is, but it's all about execution. And very much you had a fantastic presentation from Greg about Wired in terms of what the new technologies are. And absolutely, we're thinking about artificial intelligence, we're thinking about augmented reality, we're thinking about big data. But it's how you apply that to your business. And really, that's the big lesson I've had from British Airways when I was CIO there for 10 years, in the John Lewis partnership, where we put together the first CIO role in the travel business in P&O Ferries, and I'm also on the board of a bank which is building a challenger digital bank. So it's all about how you use technology. And I've heard speakers on the west coast of the States, in London, say you can't transform your existing business. Now, I think that's nonsense. They say you have to do it completely outside. If I've learnt anything from British Airways, from John Lewis, it's how you bring the digital proposition into the heart of the business, how you put that together, how you create a genuinely seamless customer proposition. And at the end of the day, it's all about customer. And as Greg said, the only things that work with technology are the things that people want. So out there, you've got technologies that could do many, many things that have never been done before. But do your customers want them? So my big theme here is I've been in lots of long-established businesses. I've just become CIO of a company, Johnson Matthey, in advanced science and chemicals and medical, that's been around for more than 200 years. We're in our third century. But it's about reinventing yourself, as these companies have done. And John Lewis has been around, where I was until the end of March, for 150 years, over 150 years, and we celebrated that. But we celebrated that because we'd evolved and changed and articulated how we did business. And one of my key messages to you is to think how you use technology to reinforce what your business is all about. And that's going to be distinct. So my strong advice is don't try and imitate Amazon. Absolutely understand what Amazon and indeed Alibaba are doing and how brilliant they are at technology. But work out how you can apply that to your business, your culture, the reasons your customers want to shop with you. And the John Lewis Partnership was founded by this gentleman, John Speeden Lewis, and the purpose of the partnership is the happiness of all its members. Everybody who works there, 90,000 of them, all own the business. And it's the largest employee-owned business in the UK. And the reason John Lewis exists is to provide worthwhile and satisfying employment in a successful business. And to be successful, you have to change. And the speed of change, as we've just heard, is accelerating. Now, I very strongly believe that retail is a team sport and IT is a team sport. And in retail in the UK, as with all retailers around the world, we have our peaks. And of course, Black Friday and the run into the festive season is enormously big for retailers in the UK. And we had a very good one. And we had a very good one because all the elements joined up. Yes, technology facilitated it, but the online, the buying, the merchandising, distribution, the service in stores all came together. And that, of course, is the definition of Omni-Channel. And 2/3 of the John Lewis business over the last year and the holiday season was through click and collect. Half of it was click and collect, and 2/3 of that went through our brother business, Waitrose. So it was Omni-Channel. And the reason it's worked for us in John Lewis was we developed that Omni-Channel proposition. We started doing that when I joined the CIO in 2011. We've developed that, and I'll come on and say a bit about that. But in addition to having the technology, in addition to having the warehouses to do it, that was coupled with changing the whole business, developing a very strong point of view on brands, on our own brand in terms of products. And of course, it's no good having fantastic things to sell, it's no good having the technology unless it all works on the day. And as those of you in retail will appreciate, when Black Friday comes, everything peaks. The online traffic peaks, the traffic through the warehouses peak, your click and collect peaks. So I think there are 4 foundations to successful digital transformation. It's really important to explain the strategic imperatives so the whole business understands why you need to change. So it's absolutely got to be driven from the top. In John Lewis, we called it the retail revolution. We said it was a revolution because when I joined, only 15% of our sales in John Lewis were going through online. Last year, it was about 45%. And over the 2 weeks around Black Friday, it was 55%. So this is not about a channel, it's about whole business change. Secondly, be really clear about the ambition and the scope of changes. So we set some very, very ambitious targets. So we said we'd be 40% online by 2020. As you just heard, we were 45% online by 2 years ago. How? Be as clear as possible about the behavior and cultural change. So this is a very, very big deal for the people who work in your stores. There are going to be lots of returns coming in. They're going to have to recognize that they're still selling when people come and research online and buy in the store, when they research in the store and buy online. They need to understand that their role in the business is changing. So we spent an enormous amount of time explaining that to people. So I went round to 3 stores and we held town halls and explained why there was this change. And one of the key things we did was, if you had a sale in the catchment area of John Lewis in Oxford Street, that counted towards Oxford Street sales because they would be returns. They may well have contributed to the sale. And controls. Right from the start, you need really tight infrastructure in terms of managing the program because you're going to be changing all parts of the business. You're not just building a nice, pretty website. You're changing the whole end-to-end processes. Now, of course, the customer journey used to be so simple. You visited the store, you took the thing to the checkout, you probably paid real money, and you took it home. Now, as we all know, it's fantastically more complicated. And therefore, to be a successful omni-channel retailer, you need to recognize that your job just got more difficult. We want, in omni-channel, to research on your mobile, look at prices, maybe then go in the store, look at the television, look at the bed. Actually, maybe you want to look at the clothes, but you may still go home and order. And you've got to be prepared for that to be click and collect or delivered by a delivery vehicle and an individual. So it's just more complicated. And therefore, you need to recognize that if you're going to be successful, you have to be able to cope with that, to invest in that, to be flexible, and to follow what the customer wants. So we identified omni-channel early, and we executed what we called this retail revolution. We, of course, invested in johnlewis.com and keep investing in that and releasing in an agile way at least every 4 weeks and often more. So we're constantly developing that and we're constantly adding the things that the customer wants. We invested in click and collect. So I think we were the first company at scale, certainly in the UK, to do that because customers love it. It puts them in control. But the other key thing is we also kept investing in our stores. So we have new showcases. Because if you're omni-channel, it's not about shifting things to online. It's about recognizing that sometimes people want the human experience of being in store, being able to touch and feel products. Other times, they want to do it digitally. So John Lewis has invested and opened great new stores in Birmingham and Leeds and in the new Westfield London shopping centre. And the key thing is that we've recognized that this is not about competition across channels. We've decided that we manage the whole business, not by channels, but in terms of the assortments and what we sell. So, we are not fussed that online has gone up, or maybe it's gone up more than the stores. We're recognizing that actually the customer journeys are going across those channels. And I think a lot of people still have an online unit, and they still measure the sales of that, not recognizing that actually it's the whole business that really matters. We've also invested in technology as well as shops and all the things that you would expect. But this required us to re-engineer pretty much the whole of the back office of our business. So we put in new order manager systems, new supply chain, as well as a really good front end, really good mobile, really good digital connections. But logistics at the back end really, really matter as much as the customer-facing front. And so we have automated warehouses in the centre of England, which enable us to, when you order by 8 p.m., deliver to any of our stores, which includes the 220 Waitrose stores as well as the John Lewis stores. We can do that by 2 p.m. the next day. So we're giving customers what they want. But behind that is robotics, big distribution centres, investment, new systems at the back. Social media, as earlier sessions have talked about, is really, really important. In the UK, the John Lewis ads are famous for the holiday season. We were very, very early, releasing those 24 hours on YouTube before we released them on television. We have assorted merchandise with it. And we used lots of innovation around that. So it's not just conventional, it's about how you market through the new channels. And we always tend to have a cover single with it as well. So, key message here is we invested in the new technology. We changed our business. We worked very, very hard to convince managers and everybody who worked with us, our partners who own the business, that the world was changing, this mattered, and we needed to recognize this. But the thing we tried to lock into was why people shop with John Lewis Partnership. And we know, because we talk to our customers, it's about service and trust. And that's been true since 1925 when we first launched our Never Knowingly Undersold price match. But service and trust really matters. And what we're trying to do when we do adverts like picture one here, when we do our interaction in an omni-channel way, when our partners talk to customers in store, we're trying to reinforce that. So we're using the new technology to deliver the core values of the business, that customers value service and trust. Now, each of you who are retailers will have different reasons, different combinations. Some of them, I'm sure, about service and trust. Others will be cost. Others will be convenience. Others will be the breadth of the line. But my key message to you, if you're going to compete in an omni-channel world, is absolutely work out, I'm sure you know, what your business stands for, what's at its heart, and then talk about that digitally and in an omni-channel way. It's not just about new technology. It's about conveying what you stand for to your customers in this digital world. And related to that, and something which is important to John Lewis, is I believe purpose beats technology. We're humans when we shop, just as we are all the time. Consumers care about value for money and convenience, but they also care increasingly about the values of the company. And we know that a friend's recommendation on Facebook is going to be infinitely more persuasive than an ad. You know, if you have a blogger who's talking about your products, this guy here, Jim Chapman, we know, that absolutely opens up your products. In this case, it was men's clothing, a menswear brand, John Lewis & Co. It opens it up to new markets because people trust that person. So I think communities still matter in the digital world, and how you build the community, the loyalty around your shop, your retail, your omni-channel world is really, really important, and that trust has to be earned. So social currency is worth every bit as much as money. So purpose still beats technology. We know our customers share our values. They trust us to do the right thing by them and by our suppliers. You can see communities becoming increasingly important in the digital world, and I've got some examples there. And when people buy things, it's more about how those products or those services, what they say about them. And I think locking into that is a way to differentiate yourself. And as we said in some of our ads, what matters doesn't change. So, finally, I want to give you 4 insights for the omni-channel future. And I doubt if any of these are going to be new to you. And I think we all know about all that technology out there and all that technology can do. I think being successful in an omni-channel world, or in the modern world in any business, is about how you apply that technology, how you relate it to the core values that your customers have and what they want. So omni-channel shopping has to be seamless. We all expect that. It can't have glitches. You've really got to make it work. And I'm sure those retailers in the audience will be speaking to their CIOs about how to make that happen. But remember, if it's omni-channel, keep investing in your stores as well as the digital. It's the combination that makes the difference. Secondly, having pretty front ends is really, really important. Online, mobile, and now, of course, voice. But if you haven't got the back-end technology, if the supply chain doesn't work, if the distribution centers can't deliver, you're not going to give the customers what they want. So it has to be end-to-end. Think of the business as a single entity. Don't think of it as an online channel and some stores and mobile and then a startup over there. Think about how it all joins up, because that's how your customers think about you. Sometimes they're in the store, sometimes they're online, sometimes they're in the store and they're on their mobiles looking at your website. It's how it all joins up that matters, how you make that seamless. And absolutely, try innovation. It really matters, because this world is being changed by technology, but you're in charge of how you change that for your business. Thank you.